This is your 2 News Oklahoma Fantasy Football Forecast.
And just like that,
here we are
another
again.
season is here.
Wow.
Away we go. It's here.
Wow. You know, when we first started this last year, I didn't think we'd be here for a second year, but
Is that right?
here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, and what time?
Jokes came to mind, but I'm just not gonna say them.
I hope I'm here this next time. This year.
Yeah.
Let's just do
Anyway.
it every year. I don't mean to jump in
No,
and
you
rush
should.
this
That's
thing. I
your
don't have
job.
the headset, so Ryan Love, thank you so much
Yes,
for
Ryan.
gracing us with your presence. No longer a Channel 2 employee,
It's
but
true.
still leading this podcast. I can't tell you how excited I am about that.
You know,
if it had just been me and Mike, how insufferable would that have been?
Yeah, it would have been bad. I would feel sorry for Caden.
Yeah, you know, it was one of those things, you leave and then, you know, you spend enough time away, you really start to miss some things.
Ah, yeah.
And you miss this kind of environment, you know.
Good.
You miss
Good.
talking sports.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, the toy section, as you
The
always
toy
call it.
department.
I
is-
thought he was really gone. I even deleted him from our league, and then I heard interest. I had to quickly put him back in, and I put him in on the wrong team.
I was like, hold on. Where's Jabbar Chase? He's not on my team.
Oh, I gotta check that thing.
Yeah.
Have you done that? Have you sent emails?
I
What's
have.
going on?
Yes.
Uh-oh. All right.
The rule is this year, you know, we're doing a $50 entry, and it has to be paid 24 hours in advance, or I'm going to kick you out because I've got a line of people waiting.
There you
And-
go.
and
I
so-
like it.
Yes.
The prize is, you know, $400 this year for first place. So
That's a big payout.
Was it our league or another where you traded Trevor Lawrence?
it
as
was
a
probably
keeper?
my league.
It was this league?
Well, definitely
it
the other
was,
league.
okay.
I can't remember if I did that here too, but
I was just wondering if you were going to cook the books in such a way that somehow you got him back.
yeah, no, that was the other
Apparently
league. You know,
Gotcha.
I've moved on since then. I forgot about that actually, Kate. Thank you for reminding.
I know that's down our rundown somewhere. I'm really high on old Trevor Lawrence. So
Yeah, he's going to be great. So if you're wondering our schedule, we won't be back until or September 5th, I believe, leading up to the season. This is kind of everybody's pre-draft. We're going to help them
Yeah,
get prepared.
I have a draft tonight.
You do?
I do.
What kind of league?
Just a standard PPR snake draft.
Okay.
It's a league I've been in for a while, but you know we restart every year.
Redraft,
and,
okay.
You know, it's and it's one of those things like nobody could is one of the. I'm sure a bunch of people have this issue. Nobody can agree on a time and place for the draft.
Sure.
It never works for everyone.
Yeah, never.
And so our league commissioner was like, "How about we do it tomorrow?" And we're like, "Okay."
So good.
So here we are
Okay.
on tomorrow.
Is the rule everybody's got to be there?
No,
So it can do auto draft then?
it can.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the past been a very competitive league, and a lot of people are really trying to avoid that. But,
Yeah, right.
You know,
I get it. Life is pretty crazy, and this is just a fun game to be had. But seriously, I take it pretty,
yep,
Oh,
you
yeah.
take it pretty serious.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what are some of the things that you guys are looking forward to, both in fantasy and just in the NFL this year coming up? There were a lot of different movements, a lot of big names going to other places, a bunch of quarterbacks in different cities now. What are some of the things that you guys are really looking forward to out of some of these guys?
Well, I want to say first, I do not like this time of year, unfortunately, because everybody's amazing. Everybody's going to win the Super Bowl. The rookies are the next coming of Justin Jefferson. All the receivers. Oh, they're better than that. No. In reality, a lot of these teams that you see in the preseason are going to suck in the regular season, but they have you fooled and you buy into them.
Uh-huh.
So this time of year, I do.
It's hard to gauge.
Very hard.
In my world, which is mostly college football, I've been thinking and saying the same thing privately, not publicly, because I don't want to be flogged by OU Twitter. But it's the exact same. Every practice report you see from the Sooners, it makes it sound like Georgia was really lucky they got off OU's schedule here in 2023 because every position looks great, every player looks great. That's just the nature of preseason.
And you took a little heat recently for that, right?
Well, for something a little bit different,
Oh,
but
okay.
we won't go there.
Okay,
Yeah, every
good.
once in a while, I like to be a truth teller, a little bit of a stinker maybe on social media. And look, I'm beholden to no one. Go
You should
Sooners,
be.
go Cowboys,
Yeah.
go Golden Hurricane.
That's
I'm
your
beholden to no one.
job.
What am I looking forward to fantasy-wise and then also just the NFL at large? Here's because of Hard Knocks, especially because of that first episode,
Oh,
I am
brother.
interested in the Jets, obviously, right? Like, not going to root for them necessarily. Now, the news that Dalvin Cook is on board as well. I am interested in the Jets, but I have very little interest in them fantasy-wise. Like, I think that'll be a good team. I think it'll be a fine offense. Rodgers will upgrade the thing, but I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, and I think I did have him on my roster last year.
Sure.
I don't trust Cook necessarily either. I think both of those guys will eat enough into each other's production that it makes them not necessarily worth it. I think the Jets are fascinating. I'm cool with ESPN Odin on it, at least for now. But fantasy-wise, they're not really top of mind for me. They mostly avoid this unless it's really late in a draft.
I'm afraid of your Ryan, of your Lions, to be honest with you.
See, and that is what I'm afraid of. Is that people are afraid.
You've got 70 years of history telling you should fear this.
Like last season, I thought after their whole Hard Knocks hype, I was like, okay, there's too much behind this team. It's scary. And then they lost they're like what 6 of their first 8 or something.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they had a great finish.
Yeah.
But the hype behind this Lions team, and they have a lot of talent.
They do.
And I love Dan Campbell. I think they like those players rally around him and everything, but it's just one of those things until it happens, I cannot.
I'd be surprised if they don't have a nice season. I would also be surprised if they have a great season. I mean, who's your quarterback? Right? At the end of the day, when it comes January, like, are you really going to go to the betting window on the Detroit Lions?
Not with Jared Goff.
Exactly.
Yeah, not with Goff. But Amon St. Brown, I mean, he's exceptional as much as I hate to admit it.
Sun God.
The Sun, yeah, I hate even that. You got Darius Slade, didn't you?
No.
Was it Bradbury? Well, who did you get for them? Who's your corner?
He got hurt for a second, and it turned out he'd probably come back this season. But they totally overhauled the
running back,
the secondary, and they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs,
David Montgomery.
Yeah,
they said, you know what? They finally gave up on Swift, which was funny because now he's an Eagle.
Right.
So now I got to deal with it.
Feels like a good spot. Not necessarily again, I think a nice piece, but not necessarily anything I want to go after fantasy wise.
With Swift, it's interesting. I talk about this. Every rookie is going to be the next all-star, and I think with Swift, his buildup was so high that he's still living off of that. It's like he has not proven it at all at any point in juncture in this career yet, but still he was touted to be so amazing. And I think that Aurora still hangs around him to this day. When watching him in the preseason the other day, now being an Eagle, I'm kind of a little more pessimistic. I'm like, he just looks like an average guy.
Yeah. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was the guy you were looking for.
That's who. Okay. I knew you got one of my Eagles corners there.
Well, because they used to have Slay. So they drafted Slay.
Right.
Yeah. So with a lot of those, some of those former Lions guys, you start to think about guys who were like big fantasy, like, oh, maybe this guy's coming up. Like once upon a time, there was a Kenny Galladay, who they used to call Babytron in Detroit, because they're like, it was right when Megatron retired, and they were like, this is the next guy. Now irrelevant,
he can't even find a team to play.
Right.
And
so are there guys that have been good in the last couple years that you're worried about coming into this season fantasy wise? Like maybe guys that
ready to drop off.
Right, that you regularly rely on that maybe you wouldn't take quite as high in a draft this year as you maybe would have in previous years.
I'm going to go bold. Justin Jefferson.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the guy has been all worldly.
He's your boy, yeah.
He is my boy. I still hold him to the highest regard, but he is right now projected to be number 1 overall in fantasy. And that's a high level to continue each year. So what I'm worried about is he's been injury-free. There's been no issues. I'm not trying to jinx him, knock on wood. But, you have to worry about injuries starting to creep up. I mean, the law of statistics is against him right now.
Yeah, that's true.
To go for year number 4 at number 1 in the NFL, that's a tough challenge for any human. So I feel like he might drop a little this year and then rebound in the following year. So this might be the difficult year.
That's a fascinating question. I'm looking at the top 10 projections as you have them on this list of ours.
This is all according to ESPN.
And Jefferson is I think that's a salient thought. That's a good thought. You look at, say, Chase and Kupp, and both of those guys have room to rebound, right, from last year. So our memory of last year, like super talented, numbers good, but obviously not what they could have been in part because of injury. It feels like I would probably buy them even at a really high level now, just because I assume that there will be a bit of a bounce back there.
See, I'm out on Kupp.
Is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
tell me. Just
Stafford's
because
noodle arm, his elbow issues.
I think Stafford's toast.
Yeah,
Is
I mean,
that
Kupp's
right?
already injured too, so it's like, okay,
Then-
we're going to repeat of last year.
look, could be right. I mean, that's what you're looking at in terms of top 10 level guys and when they may dip. For me, it's always running backs. I don't think, maybe with the exception of McCaffrey, I don't think I would have a running back in the top 10. This is
right.
This is when you've gone to the what did I pay last year for Jonathan Taylor?
Oh,
It was a lot.
Off the top.
It was like
When-
70s.
When you've gone to that school of hard knocks,
yeah.
you're just ready to be out on running backs completely. One, Bijan at 7.
It's
Don't think I get it. Don't see it. That is incredibly high.
For a rookie, right?
Maybe that's what he's going to be. And I was lower on him last year than I probably should have been when you, Mike, you wanted kind of the college scoop on where is this guy going.
Right.
And I say, he's a little more ordinary than people think. And obviously, there's nothing ordinary about a rookie being number 7. Look, Barkley and Henry both. I will sell running backs in the top 10, even if they've done big things, good things. It falls off a cliff. So both of those guys, too high on this list for me.
Well, and I know we had talked about last year when we were covering the draft for our leagues last year. Mike, you had talked about the no RB theory, like not
Zero RB, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
not taking RBs
Mhm.
toward the top. Are you still a believer in that?
Oh, I'm even more a believer right
Okay.
now.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because let's say you in your draft can get Jefferson and let's say Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown. So let's say Justin and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and let's say somehow you can finagle Devontae Smith in there and forgo any running backs. Those 3 top receivers in a PPR league are, I mean, you're already way advanced more than some RB that can be interchangeable per se. So later down the line, you're probably going to end up with a Samaje Perine type of running back who's going to be solid, who's going to get you numbers, and you kind of just need to keep that baseline high while the receivers are just pumping out the points for you. And if you can tie that in with a solid back end tight end, then you've got 4 pass catchers that can just rack up the points immediately. But it also really determines on your scoring in your league. And that would be for a full PPR league or even a half PPR standard. You kind of got to go back to the running back situation.
Speaking of that same sort of where you taking certain positions,
Mhm.
a lot of mock drafts will have varying opinions on where Travis Kelce goes,
Sure.
because it's basically him and then everybody else as far as tight ends go.
Yeah.
Where is a safe or a smart place to take Travis Kelce? Like if it were me and I miss out on like Jefferson, Chase,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe Tyreek Hill or something in those top 3 as far as receivers go, I'm probably starting to look more Kelce's way.
I love it.
You love it.
I mean, I
35?
had him, I think, in multiple leagues last year. And as for people maybe who are listening to this for the first time, even though I'm the sports guy,
Mhm.
I've never taken fantasy football near as seriously as you do,
Yeah,
for
right.
instance.
Sure.
College football consumes my weekends, and I just do it just to be social. Last year, I really, for the first time, dove in and took a look at this, and there is so much added value above replacement, if you will, with Kelce that to me, I don't know if you can take him high enough. These are experts. They put this list together. There's a reason he's not number 1, but in my brain, just seeing what he brings to the table, I feel like if I've got him, I can make a couple of mistakes elsewhere, and he makes up for it because the production is so incredibly consistent. That said, the age, when you ask the question, who has been great for several years in a row that you think maybe it's going to fall off a cliff is way too strong a term for Travis Kelce. But could this dip at some point? I mean, his age and just what they've been able to accomplish, what they're in it for, you know, I mean, this is about winning Super Bowls. This is not about maximum Sunday production 17 times a year. I do think at some point that becomes a factor for him. But they're too good. As long as you've got Reed and Mahomes together and a couple of other guys that can keep you honest, I'm not ready to sell him yet. You know what I mean? Like, I would still take Travis Kelce really, really high. And if I'm wrong, if this is the time to sell on him, then I don't mind being wrong. I'll go down with that guy.
Kelce at 5 would be a NFL record. And I'll say that,
right?
Yeah, for the age 35. There's been no 35-year-old to equal what we're projecting as number 5 for Travis Kelce.
And that is a demanding position physically. Like we saw with Gronk, he was retiring by this age, right?
When it hit him hard.
Yeah, that's right. I do the thoughts in my mind with regard to Kelce, but at the end of the day, just watching week after week what he brought.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you've got that guy, you feel pretty good almost every Sunday.
And I have to feel like these teams have taken, now that the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl again, and they've, they're all going to scheme to try to find a way to stop him, and they might have a chance with him being slightly older now. Maybe have a chance. Maybe.
So I want to talk about, because I think last year, going into last season, we talked about some of our local guys, and you have a better sense of you've watched these guys for a long time. Some of the guys who have local connections. We know Josh Jacobs had an amazing year last year.
Buddy.
Joe Mixon has been pretty consistent since he's been in the league. Are there any of these guys locally who you think, who you might just find the most interesting going into this season?
Well, fantasy wise,
yeah.
I assume Mayfield's going to win that job. Can he be a second quarterback for you? I mean, I didn't love what I saw, even though there was one touchdown drive against a good Pittsburgh defense. He's a guy that I'm fearful of, and the same goes for Kyler Murray, because Arizona feels like an absolute mess. Yeah. Like in this thing to get the kid out of USC next year, Caleb. I'm worried about that. I don't know. I don't know what that organization, how in on Kyler they are. So regardless of when he comes back, I don't feel great about that necessarily. And then Josh Jacobs, obviously the contract thing. So I look at this list and it feels like 22 was a better year than 23 will be for, a lot of the guys that we have local connection wise. And that goes for Tyler Lockett as well. Like, love me some Tyler Lockett.
It's getting crowded.
What an incredible ambassador he is for the city of Tulsa.
Yep.
What an incredible career he has had and continues to have. And Seattle's got some things going offensively. But you add Jackson Smith-Njigba to that lineup, and you're asking him to do a lot of the same things that you've asked Lockett to do for a long time. So even if Lockett remains as important to your offense as he's been, the numbers may not be quite the same. You know what I mean? Like, he may be as important to winning, but he's probably not as important to a fantasy owner. And so as I look at this list, just frankly speaking, I do think that this is a year where a number of the local talent, they're, I don't want to say on the back end, but just fantasy-wise, 22 may have been better than 23 will be. That's not popular to say, right?
Well,
Truth teller, Mike.
Well, and I will say,
like it,
you had mentioned like a guy like Samaje Perine being sort of a good get in later rounds if you're not taking running backs very high. And, he might be the starter at the beginning of the season if Javonte Williams isn't ready to go in Denver.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
on your list, you have Jaylen Warren. I mean, those are two great running backs to have. I think we're seeing already that Jaylen Warren is making Najee having a fight for keeping hold of that number one. I mean, he did a good job of last year, but now it's really like the coaches are like, okay, Jaylen Warren might be our RB1 here, So those two, you pair those two, you could be in good shape.
And that's something that goes sort of another sort of big point, not only in fantasy, but across the league overall right now with these running backs is, they're all trying to fight for more money because they all, it's a question of the value of the position, which goes back to fantasy where these running back are going to committee so much. All these different teams are going to running back by committee. and it makes it that much more challenging to value the running back in your fantasy drafts and on your waiver wire and on your, when you're rooting for your favorite team and who they're signing. It's with Dalvin Cook going to New York, it makes it like Breece Hall's fantasy value goes a little bit down.
The guys in leagues who absolutely maximize their roster, to me, are the ones who are paying attention to running back trends. You know what I mean? Just like, you mentioned Jaylen Warren, and the people who buy low on the right guys, who are in on the right, to me, that's where you can probably gain a greater advantage than anywhere other than draft day moves or luck, frankly, when it comes to, maximizing your fantasy roster. It's really paying attention to who looks good, who's got the juice as a running back, and who's on the come, right? And and Jaylen Warren absolutely might be that guy in Pittsburgh. I mean, I like that Pittsburgh team. I love the way they finished. It's, I don't know exactly what the offense is going to be, but that is such a solid organization with a coach that you can trust. And if the quarterback is right, and, I guess we've probably seen enough for Pickett to think maybe, I'd like to be in the Jaylen Warren business.
All right,
if
so
possible, at the right price.
While we were talking about Kyler, I want to get this in because one of your topics too was, keeper leagues. I'm in a 6-player keeper league. I've got a set
6 players.
6 players. It's a pseudo dynasty / keeper, but I've got to pick my 6 by this Saturday because it locks, because we have our draft in 1 week from Saturday. So I want to see what you all think of picking 6. So, all right, do we do? I'm going to list the players and you just tell me 6 that you want to keep. Geno Smith, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Deshaun Watson, Devonta Smith, Jordan Love, and that's it.
Boy, we should have just gone on this topic for an hour.
So
that's fun. I mean, Jefferson, obviously, right?
Full
I mean,
PPR, yeah.
Everybody,
Justin, that's the easiest.
Got it.
Okay.
And so your quarterbacks are Geno or Love?
Geno
or Watson.
Kyler, Watson, or
Kyler.
Love. And I'll say this, that Derrick Henry costs $60. That's the maximum you know that it ever goes.
Sure.
And this is an auction league, so $210 is our pot that we can use. So Derrick Henry is a big chunk of that. Kyler's only $17. Geno's $1.
What's Watson?
Watson is like $6. Devontae Smith's is $6. They're all really cheap. Tony Pollard's like $8, but Derrick Henry is $60. And so, in theory, I could let Derrick go and keep Geno, Kyler, and Watson, and keep Tony, Justin, and Devonta, and go and rebid on Derrick Henry, who might be a little lower than $60. Because he's this might be his last year. See,
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that. That's high for Derrick Henry.
So what would
Jefferson
you say?
and Devontae are the guys who jump out at me as like I'd really like them on my team, and I didn't catch necessarily the price on either or both, but
They're cheap.
okay, yeah, no question in my mind. Jefferson and Devontae are guys I want. I'm tempted to buy on Watson. Still young enough and fresh enough. You know what I mean? He missed enough football last year that I feel like should run the ball well. Should run for quite a few touchdowns. I like Geno a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly like what I saw. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good team. He's a guy who seems like he can protect himself at the quarterback position, which I think is huge, avoiding injury. But out of those 4, I might go to the betting window on Watson at the quarterback position.
So do I keep Kyler though? And
no,
wait?
I'm out on.
Yeah,
almost totally. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Who would you keep versus Kyler? Because we're already okay. So we're saying Deshaun and Geno, right? I mean, Ryan.
Okay, I agree.
So those 2 are the 2 QBs.
Yeah.
So do I keep Tony Pollard? There's 3.
I mean,
Justin
I like
Jefferson, Devontae. And now I need one more. Then
I like Kmet enough. I think Fields is going to have a great year. The weapons in Chicago, it just looked a whole lot better. I can't remember when they played over the weekend, but I saw enough of it to think, all right, this is for real. And I think Kmet can be a part of that. I think he can be a fine. Now, what's the price on Kmet?
Well, I mean, tight ends you normally don't keep tight ends in our league, just because they're cheap. They're only like.
You can let me have it, Mike.
No.
I'm making faux pas.
No.
If I'm making fantasy keeper league faux pas.
I've thought about
attack me. It makes for a better podcast.
No. No, I'm just talking this out.
That'll be the clip that we post.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Mike
I'm
just
talking this out because I thought about that for a second, and then I'm like, well, there these tight end. He was tight end number 8.
You kept him in the first place.
No, I drafted him actually.
Oh,
No, I picked him off a waiver wire. He averaged 9 points his last 4 games last year.
yeah.
Game. So you know,
That's something.
not too inspiring. What say you, Ryan?
So, I mean, like I agreed like with that sentiment for the most part. You know, while Henry's probably on the downturn, I don't hate, you know, pushing that extra money toward in his way, because he's one of the few running back rooms in the league that he's the guy.
Yeah.
So I let Kyler
true.
go and keep Henry.
If you have, so you still keep, like, you have
All the others
all
that we
the
mentioned.
others,
Yeah.
right. Oh, I would. Yeah.
Okay. So you wouldn't let him go out and then try to rebid him cheaper?
Good. Yeah. If that's what's going to save you, I haven't done this before.
Yeah, right.
So, but if that's an option, I certainly would. I'd certainly go that route over keeping Kyler and not going for Henry at all.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Look, Kyler, when he was at OU, went that entire magical Heisman season, it felt like, without getting touched. Until Alabama and Quinnen Williams tuned him up once in the playoff. He is so fast, so athletic, so good at sliding, but I no longer trust his ability to stay healthy. The NFL's just different. You slow down a little bit here and there. And so my point is, even at an advanced age and playing that ridiculously violent position of running back,
Is it
I
his
think
height?
I almost trust Derrick Henry more to get through a season mostly healthy than I do Kyler at this point.
My only fear in all of this is it is a 6-player keeper league, and he comes back in November and excels, and I could have kept him and trade him for a first-round pick the following year.
Sure.
You know,
Don't keep Komet. Now that you talk this through,
but
now that you explained it to me.
But there is Keenan Allen, who was like wide receiver 7 over the last 4 games.
Is that right?
Year.
I did not realize it was that good.
Yeah, he was injured for the first 6 games, but then for the last 1, 2, 3,
Colorado
4,
balls.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. He had 12.4, 15.9, 20.8, 21.2, 16.6, 21.4, 11.8, and 30.2 each week.
The Dallas offense is going to prosper, right? There's just too much talent there for it not to be pretty good. Pollard's the guy.
Yeah.
At $60, Henry's age, that feels like the smart play to
Keep Tony P.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's a bad injury to be coming back from. Running back's tough.
Oh, yeah.
Running back's tough.
Yeah. But, you know, Tony Pollard's only $8, so keeping him is
And
cheap.
still young.
He's a low risk in this point. But it's Kyler that I'm worried about, that I let him go. And my thought was to keep Kyler and the 2 other quarterbacks and then go bid on Henry for $40 and come out on the Pazzo, but I get the best of both worlds. But somebody listening now knows my.
Hold the podcast.
All right, enough about me.
Bleep that part out. Okay, so we talked about that. Now, are there any? I think lastly here we'll wrap this up.
Sure.
Sleepers. Every year people talk about what are some guys late rounds that you can think of that would most likely be available. Whether it's, you know, getting some of these rookie quarterbacks. If you're somebody who doesn't believe in taking quarterbacks that high, you know, there are quarterbacks who are certainly talented, but are they going to put up fantasy numbers like CJ Stroud in Houston? I'm sure I imagine he'll put up numbers. That team's going to be bad.
Yeah.
But I imagine that will then allow him to be out there constantly throwing the ball, running the ball, having to control that team because they're going to be playing from behind a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, if you're looking for, like, even if it's just like your backup quarterback, you know, he's somebody for me that I would watch for, knowing very well that I do not trust Ohio State quarterbacks in the pros, but Justin Fields did well last year.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that, you know,
So is Anthony Richardson on that list then?
Man, he's.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish we had a video on that. That
No,
reaction.
I'm hardly in there.
Okay.
I don't like the situation for any of the three
Yeah.
first round quarterbacks.
This
Maybe
year,
I'm wrong.
Long
Yeah.
term, maybe.
Well, look, I don't know. Long term, forever's a long time.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
I like the talent for sure of Bryce Young, but the same concern I have with Kyler. I'm saying long, but right now I think he's going to be running for his life in his rookie season. I wish that a lot of these guys could come in and do what Aaron Rodgers was able to do. Heck, what Patrick Mahomes was able to do for a year. Just let them watch the thing and get some spot duty in that rookie season. I think it's too soon for Bryce to be behind that line. Stroud, similar concerns, and Richardson I just don't think has what you want between the years as an NFL quarterback yet. Maybe that comes in time.
He threw a laser for an interception.
Yes, and he's going to. I mean, that's what he did at Florida.
Yep.
And I mean, we're seeing the same sort of thing early. I don't know if any of those guys inspire me much at the moment. I don't know.
I think Chris Olave is going to be a good one to follow.
Where do people have him slotted generally?
I've seen him second, third round in a lot of mocks that I've seen. It might kind of depend on what your league format is, but I've seen him up there among the top, 10 receivers, top 10, 15.
I know Kansas City didn't care. And I know that the first commandment of fantasy football drafting surely is don't put much stock in preseason football. But I think New Orleans is going to be pretty good. I think that offense, with whether it's Carr or Winston. I mean, how about that as a thing to factor in? I think some of the weapons in that room, I like the running back room. I like Olave, and I like either quarterback, even if there's an injury. Olave's a guy I for sure could see being worth that sort of second, third round. He's on the come.
Do we think Michael Thomas will come back to life?
I do. I think that's a good sleeper. I wouldn't mind having him on my roster. Also, Josh Downs of the Colts, I think, is going to be pretty good, and Jalen Hyatt for the Giants.
Yeah.
Those are my two rookie picks.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, one more. I wanted to ask you about Marvin Mims. If you think that because the Denver Broncos under Sean Payton allegedly are in this whole new regime, hopefully this offense will pull it together. Do you think that Marvin Mims will be any part of this?
Yeah, based on what I've been reading, yes. I mean, I think they're relatively high.
Do you think he's good enough to be relevant?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got an elite skill.
Okay.
And that is the ability to take the top off of a defense.
Like
and I think Russell can still that's not a bad, I don't think he's at that high. Yeah. Actually, you know what? The more I think about it, I think he's going to be a guy who doesn't have just a ton of targets, but can.
So he could be kind of like the Tyler Lockett was for Russell in Seattle then.
Well, look, Lockett is a whole lot better at a lot of other things underneath. But I think that Mims is a guy who will have his weeks for sure. Like, if you have him on your bench and play him at the right time, and if you're the kind of guy who gets into, if he's up against a secondary that's got some issues or is prone to giving up the deep ball, I think Wilson to Mims, even this early in his career, could be, deadly down the field. Certainly not a guy you would just play a ton, but I think he'll make contributions in his rookie season. Couple of weeks a year, you'll wish you had him.
Sure. Well, pre-week 1 already, guys.
That's
it's
right.
already in the books. Crazy.
Yeah, we're in here. So our draft is like right before the season starts.
The Monday, the 27th, I believe.
Okay.
Yep. At 7:15. So that will be August 28th at 7:15.
All right. So
High stake league.
We will probably, I imagine, we'll post some of that auction draft, those results. We'll see how everybody's teams look, and then we'll reconvene and figure out who we think won that sort of.
We'll brag about our teams.
That's right.
Who won our league last year?
Well, you were in the title game, weren't you?
I was, but I don't think I won it.
I can't
Right.
remember.
It was, I want.
I think I lost in the title game.
It was one of your friends, Mike. What's his name?
Is there a cash payout for second place? Or is it winner takes all?
It is no. It's second and third place get paid too.
So retroactively, what do I get?
Yeah, you Richard. I don't. Yeah, not very many people paid last year, so that's why we're doing it. Yeah, I'll have to look who won. Yeah, I'll have to find that out for next one.
All right.
All right.
We'll wrap it up. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Ryan, for
Good to
coming
have you
in.
back, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's gonna be a fun year.